everyone! Welcome sa aking channel, Char. Good evening, Assalamualaikum, Piyabutang at magandang gabi sa lahat. Tuloy ko po sorry rin pala sa late upload sa aking His Runaway Wife Chapter 16. And shout out daw kay Narhana May Unggi. Hi, thank you for watching. At saka, okay, tuloy ko po. Chapter 16, His Runaway Wife. I look at myself in the mirror while I comb my hair. My skin was darker. I had forgotten to put sunscreen earlier today and now I was sunburned. Fantastic. I fixed my bangs with my fingers and took a deep breath. I half ran into the shower as soon as Damian and I walked into the house. Now my hair was damp from the shower and I was wearing my pajama shirt with a white blouse. Thank God Alexa had done the laundry. I could not wait to get home to my own closet. I was dreading the conversation that we were about to have. I didn't want to talk, but I knew we had to. The time was here. With another deep breath, I turned the doorknob and opened the door. The room was illuminated with the light on the ceiling. The TV was on, but the volume was low. The man was sitting on the edge of the bed. He was still wearing his black suit. He seemed tense. He didn't seem like the carefree man that was on the beach with me earlier. I frowned, sensing that something was wrong. Damian, I asked. I walked toward him. He looked up at me. He was definitely angry. Who is Julian? I froze. I'm sorry. What? Damian stood up and I took a step back at the same time, suddenly feeling intimidated by him. Who the fuck is Julian? He asked, clenching his jaw. Your phone rang and I answered. He was looking for his girlfriend. I gulped. Why did you answer my phone? Answer the question, Rebecca. I sighed. Julian is someone I've been seeing. Damian clenched his jaw. For how long? I looked away from his glare and then back at him. About 3 months. Damian chuckled dryly. And you were giving me a hard time about Karen. He shook his head in disbelief. I felt anger build up inside me. So you're with Karen and I'm with Julian. What the hell is the problem? Damian grabbed me by the shoulder. The problem is that you left me. He gripped my shoulder. You are my wife and you left me. There it was. The anger he had been hiding for the past few days, in the end, all it took was him finding out about Julian. His words hurt, but I knew I deserved it. I wanted this right. I wanted him to be angry at me. I wanted him to yell at me. I deserved this and more. I forced myself to not cry. I had to take this bravely. You left me, Rebecca, he repeated angrily. Without telling me anything, you just disappeared without a trace. You didn't think about how that would make me feel. You didn't give me a fuck about. He shook his head. You are my wife, you left me, and now you're with someone else. While I suffered, you were busy looking for another husband. I was not like that, I choked out. He shook his head angrily. While I looked desperately for you, you were already fucking someone else. I put my hands on his chest and pushed him away. Oh please, like you haven't been fucking Karen? I haven't, he yelled. I stared at him without saying anything, trying to decide whether he was saying the truth. Damian looked at me. He ran a hand through his hair. There were times that I was tempted. Yes, times when we were close. He clenched his jaw. Maybe I should have. I looked away, trying to fight back the tears. but all I could see was you," he continued. "Not a single day went by that I didn't think about you, Rebecca. I would think about you. I could find you. I wondered what I did to make you run away so many times. You have no idea." His voice broke, and I was pretty sure something inside of me broke too. I looked up at him. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm sorry I hurt you." I clenched the tears on my cheeks with my hands. "Why?" he asked, looking helpless. "Why did you do it?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I could not answer his question without sounding like the most selfish person on earth. Then again, that's exactly what I was. Selfish. Sorry, guys. "I don't know," I said stupidly. I was desperate to get out. I was tired of the life I was living. "So why didn't you talk to me?" he demanded, taking a step forward. "Why didn't you tell me, Rebecca?" What could you have done?" I said defensively. "You were starting your career. You were so invested in your job. I didn't want to be the reason you got stuck." "What could I have done?" he asked in disbelief. "I would have done something, Rebecca. I would have left my job if you wanted me to." I shook my head. "No, you would not have. Damian, don't lie." He grabbed me by the shoulder again and looked right into my eyes. "I would have. You were my wife. I committed myself to you when I married you. You came before my career. I would have. But how was I supposed to know that my career was getting in between our marriage if you didn't say anything?" I shook my head. "Come on, Damian. You knew." "I didn't," he insisted. "What was I supposed to do? Read your mind?" "How could you not know? Did you not notice how we stopped trying? How we stopped going out on dates? We stopped spending time together. We stopped arguing. Sometimes we went days without seeing each other. You thought that was normal?" He shook his head and he began pacing in front of me. "We were both busy with our careers. You were too busy to notice," I accused. "You didn't even notice me anymore. You didn't even notice me the way your mother treated me." I closed my mouth. I didn't want to bring his mother in this conversation. I had spoken without thinking. I didn't want to seem like the girl to blame her mother-in-law for her marriage problems, but the truth was that she was a hug part of my marriage with Damian, my mother. Damian looked at me. "What does she have anything to do with this?" He sounded defensive, and that made me even more angry. This was why I never touched this subject with him. I shook my head. Looking away, "Forget it." "No," he said, standing in front of me, as if daring me to say something bad about his mother. "Tell me, help me understand what my mother has to do with you leaving me." I glared at him. "She never wanted me to be your wife. Damian, you knew that. You knew she thought I was not good enough for you. You knew she hated me, and you still brought me to live in her house." I was so angry, tears were streaming down my cheeks. I cleaned them away angrily. I never had the courage to say this to the man back before I left. I was too scared to be the nagging wife who pulled him away from his family. I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to love Marianne. I wanted her to love me. I wanted us to have good relationship. Who didn't want their mother-in-law to love her? Who didn't want their mother-in-law to think that one was worthy of their son? Of course, I wanted Marianne to like me. And I tried. Oh, I tried so many times. I would not have lasted living under the same roof with her for so long if I would not have tried. "I asked you," Damian said angrily. "I asked you if it was okay if we live with my parents for a while, and you said it was. I didn't know it was going to be hell living with her." Oh, come on, Rebecca. I'm not going to stand here and let you talk like that about my mother. I have. Then I guess I should leave. I turned to walk out, but he reached out and pulled me right back. Will you stop running away and face your problem for once in your life? Let me go, I said, pulling my arms free. If you want to have an honest conversation, then you're going to have to accept that your mother is no angel. He clenched his jaw. Fine, go on. Tell me what she did to you. I shook my head angrily. You think this is a joke? You think I'm just blaming this on her? It sounds to me like you are. I looked at him in disbelief. He was really starting to piss me off. It was time to talk, now or never. You were always so busy, Damian. You didn't even notice the way she would treat me during dinner. Did you not see the way she mocked me whenever I tried to make dinner for everyone? This pasta is too salty. The meat is undone. Didn't your mother ever taught you how to cook? Karen knew how to cook. I recalled all the times she judged my cooking. I was only getting angrier. Suddenly running away seems justified. I had forgotten how hard it was to live with Marianne, or all the time she did the laundry detergent from me. Sometimes she would even lock the laundry room so I could use it. I could not use it. I would have to go to the laundromat around the corner, go and ask around. Jim probably still remembers me. I glared at Damian. I tried to tell you at first, but you would get so defensive. It was impossible to talk about it. You claimed that I was your priority, but I was not, Damian. I came after your career and I came after your mother. Maybe running away was not the right thing to do, but it was the only solution I could find back then. I was tired, so tired of being humiliated by her and ignored by you. Damian looked at me for a moment. I could tell he was doubting the perfect image he had of his mother in his head. I didn't have the intention of causing problems between them, but Damian and I could not talk about the reason I ran away without bringing Marianne into this. God knew she had a lot to do with me running away. Maybe that had been her plan all along. So, wait lang. Chapter 17. Thinking about Marianne had brought all of the hatred I felt on the day I left. Hatred and sadness. The memories of the day I left started to flood my head. I could see myself running out of the house after receiving the worst phone call in my life. I could see myself crying as I shut the door behind me. I hesitated before getting in the car. I remembered looking back at the house and thinking, what was I doing? I could not just leave without telling Damian anything. And then I remembered thinking about my little sister somewhere alone, crying by herself. And I thought about the way I was leaving. I was not happy. Yes, of course, I could just leave without saying anything. Damian probably won't even notice my absence until next week. I was done living like this. I remember getting in the car with just my purse and driving away. I didn't look back again. My mother, Damian said after a moment. He shook his head. Please tell me she didn't. He looked up at me. Please tell me she didn't do those horrible things. I don't want you to hate her, I said to him. I don't want you to fight with her. I just want you to understand one of the reasons I left. He gulped. There just has to be an explanation for the way she treated you. He was in denial. I didn't blame him if somebody came and told me that my mom had been a whole other person than what I thought she was. I probably would not believe them either. When I left, I was full of hatred towards her. I thought I hated her at some point. She made it so hard to live in her house. Damian was never home, so he didn't see what happened. I thought I also resented him for a long time. She would do anything in her power to make my life miserable. Mock me in front of her friends, hide the car keys from me, so I will not use it. It was the reason I ended up getting my own car. The thing was that, yes, Marianne was horrible towards me, but I understood that she was still Damian's mother. Nothing was ever going to change that, which was why I wanted her to like me so bad. It just, I didn't work. Now I was not the woman full of hatred anymore. I was past that. At least I thought I was. So I half smiled, trying to lighten up the mood, show Damian that the damage was done and I had moved on. Let me now know what it is when she tells you. Damian didn't say anything. Instead, he sat back down on the edge of the bed. He rested his elbows on his knees and stared at the floor. I leaned against the drawer behind me and crossed my arms on my chest as silence filled the room. Seeing him like that made the anger inside of me diminish. I knew it was not fair for Damian to find out that his own mother was one of the reasons I had left without saying anything. Maybe I had subconsciously done it to hurt Marianne too. I knew how much he meant to her. He was her pride. There was not a single reason to explain why I left. There were many. I loved Damian. He was the love of my life. But sometimes love was not enough. Love was only a part of marriage. It was important, yes, but so was hurt, trust, happiness, and spending time with one another. Sometimes left got in the way of love. I didn't know what I was thinking anymore. I was tired of arguing, tired of thinking about the past. I hated those awful memories. It was one of the reasons I never spoke about it with anyone, including Alexa. I didn't want to remember anything. I hated to see Damian hurt. It was not like himself to look so vulnerable and miserable. It was my fault he was like that. I hurt him now. I understood that it didn't matter that I was not happy. Running away was not the right solution. It had been selfish, the most selfish thing I had ever done in my life. I had damaged our marriage. I had hurt Damian. How could I ever fix this? I could not. I knew that a million sorry were not going to undo the damage that I had caused. I'm sorry about Julian, I said after a long moment of silence. I stared straight ahead at the window. I was not the exclusive relationship. I didn't sleep with him, I said quietly. Damian didn't say anything for a moment. I knew it was not the time to dive into my so-called boyfriend situation, but I felt the need to come clean. I didn't want Damian to think that I had been unfaithful to him. Okay, maybe I had been unfaithful by going on dates with another man, but at least I could say that I didn't sleep with anyone in the time that I was separated from him. I wanted Damian to know that. You know, my father warned me many times, he finally said as he looked down at the floor. He always told me that this career came with hug sacrifice in a way. I think he felt guilty that I had followed his footsteps. He sniffed and I realized that he was crying. He would be so disappointed. Disappointed. Oh, Damian. I walked to him and put my arms around his shoulder. He buried his face in my stomach. Your father loved you, I said softly, and you didn't disappoint him. There's no way. He didn't say anything. Instead, he wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me closer to him so that I was standing in between his thighs. I kissed the back of his head as I tried to fight back the tears. I felt so much guilt. I wish I could go back in the time and fix my mistake. I never should have left him like that. I knew that now, but it was too late. The damage was done. Now I had to suffer the consequences. He was still mourning his father's death, and there I went to break the image he had of his mother. God, I was horrible. I didn't deserve Damian. I knew it, and I was pretty sure he knew it too. After a long moment, I felt Damian press his lips against my stomach. I felt my body tense. His hands went under my blouse and I caught my breath when I felt his big hands on my bare waist. He pressed his lips against my skin just next to my belly button. He began to feel my skin with soft kisses, making my knees feel weak. Then he stood up and kissed me hard on the lips. It was so unexpected. I took a step back. Damian, I murmured against his lips. I pressed my hands on his chest and pushed him away gently, just enough to make him look at me. He seemed hazy, as if he were drunk. I could also see lust in his eyes. What was he doing? We were at each other's throats not so long ago. Did he drink at the beach? No, he would not have. He was a responsible doctor. He placed his hand on my cheek. I want you, he said as he pressed his lips against mine. He began to kiss me quickly and fiercely. I was flattered that he still wanted me, especially after the argument we just had. He wanted me even though I had hurt him. I really didn't deserve this man. The mute went down to my neck and I closed my eyes as I put my hand behind his head to press him closer to me. He pulled my blouse up and out of my head, leaving me in my bra. I reached out and took his jacket off, and he reached out to loosen his tie and take off his shirt. He continued to kiss me and I didn't realize we were moving until my back hit the wall. Damian's hands was on my lower back, teasing my skin. I loved the feeling of his skin against mine. After a long moment, we stopped. I could feel his hot breath on my neck. We were both breathing hard, trying to catch our breath. Suddenly, he reached out and placed his palm against my cheek and pulled my head up so I would look at him. You are my wife, he said. His voice was possessive and sexy. I want you to stay, he said, looking straight into my eyes. We'll work it out. Just stay with me, he said, kissing my lips. Please. I felt like crying, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. I wanted the man. I didn't want to worry about anything else. I just wanted us to focus on us in the room, half naked. I miss you, Rebecca, the man whispered as he kissed me. I miss you so much. He pulled back to look at me. Did you miss me? I gulped, trying to fight back the tears. Of course, I miss you. He half smiled and he looked younger for a second. He ran his thumb across my lower lips. Do you still love me? Oh God, he was making it so hard for me to not burst into tears. I didn't want to cry. I wanted him to continue what he started and make me his. I wanted to be in his arms. I wanted to feel his lips in every inch of my body. My skin was burning with desire for him. Didn't he know? Could he not see in my eyes that I wanted nothing more than to be in his arms for the rest of my life? Could not he tell that I realized I made the biggest mistake of my life when I walked out of his life? I wanted to tell him this, but I could not tell him without crying, so instead I nodded. Yes, Damian, I whispered as I pressed my palms against his cheek. I love you. A tear escaped from my eyes and he cleaned it with his finger as he smiled. He pulled my chin up and pressed his lips against mine. I closed my eyes, savoring the feelings of his body against mine. I had forgotten how good, how right it felt to be in his arms. I had forgotten how safe I felt. I forgot how loved he made me feel when we were together. This was how it was always supposed to be. This was what we had lost, and now we had found it again. In that moment, nothing mattered but him and I. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't want to think about anything else. Nothing mattered. I just wanted to think about how good it felt to have his lips against mine, his skin against my skin. I wanted to dive into the way he was holding me and stay like that forever. It was there in our intimacy that he whispered, I love you too, before picking me up and taking me to the bed to finish what he had started. So, siguro yung mga next guys, hanggang dito muna tayo guys kasi gabi na, char. Well, o nga pala, yung sa, ano nga pala, sa nag-chat, hintay lang po kasi mabagal ang data ko. Pero thank you rin po sa mga nag-view at nakikinig. Siyempre, yung nag-request nito, thank you rin po sa'yo. At sa mga nag-request na ibang titles. Pero sunod-sunod naman po yung binabasa ko. Thank you ulit and good night guys. Pero kasi nasa kusina ako guys ngayon at may ginagawa pero hindi pa naman tapos.